What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 155, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking about Disney potentially buying EA, Activision games hitting Game Pass next year, and Redfall has a 60 FPS update. But before we get to that, gotta introduce my co-host, as always, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
What's up? Doing very well. Played a lot of games this week, as the past few weeks have been. But yeah, ready to talk about some cool gaming news and some potentially. Are we talking about monopolies tonight? Who knows? We'll figure it out on this episode of acquisition season.
Monopolies, yeah. So I was kind of expecting to come into this episode being like, the deal is done. People are reporting it might be tomorrow, so maybe next week will come in October the 13th. I don't know why they were like, let's do it on the most superstitious day of the calendar, but maybe. I haven't really seen anything about it this week.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking at threads, and Tom Warren tweeted and said, deleted this post about the CWA. The union people said that they might be able to unionize in a few weeks based on the closing of tomorrow, but that reporting was based on Tom Warren himself. So no one knows what's going on, and we're all just following The Verge. That's
nice.
What's going on.
I mean, I do like following The Verge, but why don't we get through some housekeeping? This is Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast. We're live every Thursday right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't catch us, we are on every audio feed Friday mornings. We post really early, so you can have that for your morning drive into work. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review at Spotify, Apple. Helps us in the algorithm. And I noticed a new thing. Spotify added this nice little feature. We can recommend other podcasts. So I threw a few of our sister shows up there. I might rotate those out, try to get some more eyes on shows every so often. I thought that was a really cool feature. If you haven't heard, Extra Life Weekend is November 4th. We will be doing a 24-hour live stream live from Rome, New York. It'll be me and then Taylor, the host of our No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. We're streaming for 24 hours straight. We'll be there along with our friends over at Carpool Gaming. We'll be hanging out. A bunch of other people coming. We've announced our grand prize. The link is down below if you want to donate and enter to win. That is the Spider-Man PS5 or Spider-Man 2 PS5 Collector's Edition. So 19 inches of Venom could be yours. $10 per entry. If you want to support us further, get early access to Save the Game Media content, head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Bucky Blue, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nikolai Knight, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Snack Network, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, and Lee Navarro. Thank you for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. Sam, now that we got the housekeeping out of the way, let's dive into what have you been playing this week?
Well, last week I set myself a charter. I said I was going to finish Cocoon, finish Stray, and finish Assassin's Creed Mirage. Pleased to say I hit 2 out of 3. So I finished Cocoon and I finished Stray.
Oh,
and it was ironic because I had said that I was going to finish those games, and I finished them both on the same night because I was about 15 minutes out from finishing both of them when I stopped playing both of them. But yeah, Cocoon is a really good time. One of my favorite games of the year so far, puzzle wise. Like, I really enjoyed that. And then Stray, once again, no idea how that was a game of the year contender. I do not get it. It is not that good of a game, but it was fine, I guess. You know, I might try to go back maybe one weekend. There's an achievement where you finish the entire game in under 2 hours. I might try to do it just because now that I've gone through it and I know the solutions to where things are, I can probably do it. But yeah, those were a good time. Then I know it's on your list as well, but I checked out Forza Motorsport.
Yes,
really enjoying that so far. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that in like a bigger section together after you share your thoughts?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll get into Forza Motorsport more in a minute, but then I am almost finished with Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like, I'm like probably an hour and some change from wrapping that one up. And I'm really enjoying it. I would probably rate it overall maybe like a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
It's not the best Assassin's Creed game, not the worst Assassin's Creed game. Story, completely forgettable. I don't even know what's happening right now other than like you play as the guy from Valhalla and you're killing other people, and that's the story. But yeah, TBD on if they loop that back into Valhalla at the end. I'm sure they will. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it though.
I know my brother really liked Assassin's Creed Mirage. He rolled credits on. I think it was about 16, 17 hours it took to roll credits. So pretty much shorter experience than the 140 you're going to get in Valhalla. But I watched him play it. I was like, yeah, this is the stealth game through and through. I was a little bit before we went and saw X in theaters, which is okay. It's an okay movie. I'm a big Saw fan, but
X. X.
That's right. That's right. X. And my chair continues to lower me. So if our YouTube watchers are seeing me suddenly get shorter, as my chair seems to just be going down. It does this every so often. That's awesome, Sam. So I want to talk to you about Forza, obviously, in a bigger way. But first, I got to talk to you about the Lamplighters League.
Lay it on me. How is this one? I've seen a couple of people talking about it, but not too much talk.
So I'm going to actually, after we finish our show, I'm going to be hopping on to friend of the show, 1 Hour, One Decision. They are a Game Pass podcast where they play Game Pass game for 1 hour and let you know whether it's worth your time or not. So I'll be jumping over there to talk more about the Lamplighters League and my experience with it. But the short of it is, this is not a very good game.
Oh,
and that is disappointing because I think it could have been a good game. It's interesting because I went into it expecting a strategy, like tactical turn-based, like Gears Tactics style game. And when you load in, you walk around, you're very much like you're controlling the characters, everything in real time. You're like moving across the map. And you have these abilities where you can like sneak up on the enemies and take them out before you get into any sort of combat. And once those abilities are done, then you enter turn-based tactical style combat. And it's very difficult. It's like XCOM level difficulty where there's like enemies that you stand no chance against, and it's like get to the objective, get out before they murder all of you. It's a little frustrating, but my biggest issue, before just to keep it short, is it's technically an absolute mess. This game runs so poorly, multiple crashes in the hours, the hour and change I played this game, redoing missions. The checkpoint system is terrible. I basically had to redo an entire mission because it crashed right at the end. I'm not sure what they were doing with this one. I think it needed a lot longer in the oven. And I'm pretty sure I think Paradox Interactive is the publisher, that they're basically writing off the development costs as like a tax write-off because it did so poorly.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I saw this one whenever it was announced. I think during one of like the Summer Game Fest shows, might have been the Xbox show itself. But I'm not typically a big strategy guy or XCOM guy. I kind of had this on my radar, but after hearing that, I'll probably punt that one off a little bit. Even just checking out the gameplay here, it's clearly not my cup of tea, but it's shocking to hear that it's not optimized very well. I guess, I don't know, maybe I have an unreasonable expectation for games that are marketed via Game Pass to run well on the console.
No.
They're designed for. No, okay, all right.
I can deal with it. I'm not the biggest technical snob. I can deal with like 30 FPS if that's what they want to do. As long as it's a smooth 30 FPS, I can deal with a few hitches here and there. But like when the game is fundamentally broken, I'm not sure how you put that one out. Like the load times are long. It like has this weird jittery, like it's struggling to even stay together. Really, really bad technical issues with Lamplighters League.
Unfortunate. Dang.
But the game I have been playing more of, and I was surprised because I didn't expect to jump into this one, Forza Motorsport. If you want to jump into that. So I started playing this on my ROG Ally. I was like, I'm not feeling a JRPG right now, which I kind of jumped into Trails in the Sky the Third for a little bit, and I was like, I need a JRPG break before November when a bunch of them hit, and then it's endless until through next year even. So I was like, I'm gonna play some Forza. So I booted up the cloud, was playing through the cloud there. Everything was running great. I was like, wow, I'm having a better time than I expected for a sim racer. And that led to me actually downloading it on my console. And I've put maybe 5 hours into it, which is way more than I expected to put into it. I've done a few circuits, a few free play runs here and there. Haven't jumped into multiplayer yet because I'm pretty sure everyone's way better than me. But I'm enjoying it to a certain extent. And I was talking to Sean Capri about this, where I was asking him questions where I'm like, how do I skip the practice laps? Because the practice
Mm,
laps are really ruining this game for me. Like they take too long. It's boring. I just want to get into the races.
yeah.
Apparently there's a way to do it. I'll have to see about that. But what's your experience been? Because I think it's a good game. I don't think it's nearly as good as Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're two different styles of games, and I think we talked about this on last week's episode of the show, but typically I am a Forza Horizon player or a Crew Motorfest player where I like to launch a Cadillac off of a cliff and
Hmm.
see how long it can stay in the air. Like that's the kind of racing quote unquote game that I like. But I went into Forza Motorsport and I was shocked at how much I liked it. And one line at the beginning of the first, I guess, tutorial track or whatever explained sim racing better than I've ever heard it explained. And it was basically like, when you come up on a curb, just let off the gas, don't brake. And I was like, wait, you're telling me I'm supposed to just let off the gas? And so I tried
Oh,
it and
I didn't know that.
I catapulted around everybody. So like, yeah, it did a good job when I was starting to play to teach me how to play a sim racer versus playing something like Forza. And so for me, like I'm treating it differently. I'm kind of like having this intentionality of like the practice laps are annoying, but I take time to like learn the track, know when I should really hit on the brakes and go around this corner versus speed up with this straightaway, that kind of stuff. And so it's new for me because I didn't play any of the old Forza games that are purely racing sim focused. This is
Mhm.
kind of like my first foray. And I really like the RPG system. I really like that RPG level system for the cars. Mainly just because it gives me something to kind of grind. I'm sure that everybody else hates it, but as somebody who's not a sim player, it feels like it gives me enough gamification to keep me coming back and kind of churning through stuff.
You know what my problem with the leveling of the cars is? Because I do like it as well. I picked a Honda Civic as my first car because that's the car I drive in real life. I painted it the color of my car in real life. I was like, yeah, this is my car. I'm gonna improve this to the max. And then you can only use certain cars in certain like circuits.
Oh yeah.
So like I finished the one circuit and then it was like, oh, now you have to race in a Subaru Impreza. And I was like, I don't like this car nearly as much as my Honda Civic. And I really just wanted to level up my Civic to like, because there's achievements for leveling up a car, right? To like
Yeah.
level 50 or whatever. And it takes a little bit to level up. So that kind of annoyed me that it took away that choice for me because I was enjoying the leveling up of the car system. Um, will tell you right straight up the upgrades where it's like, oh, you can modify your car, right? Like tuning and performance. I do the auto upgrade
Same.
every single time. I'm like,
Same
I am
every
not
time.
smart enough.
Yeah. No, I do not know anything about cars to the level beyond like I need new brakes or I need new tires. Like I'm over here doing the penny test to see if it hits Abe Lincoln or whatever, and then beyond that, no car knowledge at all. So I don't need to know what engine block I need to put in this thing. Just auto upgrade me, and it's cool they put that feature in because it makes it
Hmm.
way easier.
Makes it way more accessible for people like me, big stupid idiots like me. That I'm unlocking all this stuff, and it's like I couldn't tell you where this is located on the car, like
Yeah, no idea.
underneath, under the hood. Like who cares? Drivatars. What are you doing for difficulty here? Because I'm playing on a very low, like I don't go above 5 for drivatars. And I'm basically playing like that casual setting where it's like no penalties. Like if I go off the road a little bit, you're gonna just let it go. Okay.
Yeah, I played so I have pretty much the normal setup, whatever the average normal difficulty is, and then I bumped it to where it doesn't guide me. Like if I'm running off the road, it doesn't pull me back on the road because there's kind of like that auto drive technique. And so I
Mm,
wanted that off, but beyond that, it's all just straight up normal. I don't know how difficult my drivatars are, but I'll tell you, I have not felt challenged. I have not felt like I'm
yeah.
not going to win any of these races. So I might need to bump it up a little bit.
That's right. Started. I'm like, oh, third, second. Then after that, it's first. I was like, okay, I gotta
Yeah.
bump this up. It's getting easy, but I like it more than I thought. Will I stick with it? I don't know. Right now, it's kind of like achievement fuel for me, where I'm like, I'll
Oh yeah.
hop
Dude,
in, get some
they
achievements.
come so fast with this game. I got like 5 in 10 minutes.
Yeah, there were some easy ones too, where it's like share a replay, share a screenshot, and for those ones, it makes you name them, and I just named them achievement, like because I just want people to know, like when you're looking at this on the network, I'm doing this for the achievement. I don't care about showing you anything in particular. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see how that holds up next week with Sonic Superstars and Mario Wonder dropping for me. And I know people got Spider-Man, a whole bunch of other stuff coming out. So
Yeah, I can tell you it's not going to be one I hang on to too long. I think it
no.
might be one that I revisit, but like right now, if I wake up on Saturday morning and I'm like, okay, I want to play a racing game. Like I have Forza Horizon 5 with the expansions that I still haven't finished. I also have the Crew Motorfest with the season pass. Forza Motorsport, unless I'm in the sim mode, not going to be on the top of the list.
That's I kind of had an itch yesterday when I was like, should I just get Forza Horizon 5 back instead of this? Like, would I have more fun with that? But I'm giving it a good college try. So that's my current impressions or that's our current impressions of Forza Motorsport. But why don't we jump into the news, Sam? Not many news items this week, but some big ones. Like story number one, is Disney gonna buy EA? So this comes from a Bloomberg report. Disney executives are apparently pushing CEO Bob Iger to purchase EA to strengthen their gaming brand. Iger is reportedly, quote, non-committal to the idea. EA has had a long-standing relationship with Disney through the Star Wars IP spanning decades at this point and is expanding into Marvel games with their upcoming Iron Man game from Massive and their Black Panther game. So, Sam, we don't have much information except that people apparently are telling the CEO, go drop the money, get EA, let's get back into gaming. How would you feel if Disney splashed the cash and picked up EA and entered the gaming space?
I think this would be dreadful. Like I read this headline and I thought it would just be a disaster. And I think that coming off of reading Jason Schreier's book earlier this summer, I forget what it was called, but Press Reset, that's what it was. I read Jason Schreier's Press Reset, and hearing how Disney kind of botched a lot of their gaming initiatives a couple of years ago. If you can't handle third-party relationships that well, what makes me have faith in you buying an entire giant arm of the industry itself and managing that well? That was my initial reaction. And to go beyond that, the reason that I see this differently than something like a PlayStation acquisition or an Xbox acquisition is that PlayStation and Xbox understand gaming. They understand developers. Disney is an entertainment company. Not to say the games aren't entertainment, but they're just going to be using these developers and these publishers to churn out games based around, I would assume, their own IP. And then we're going to get flooded with a ton of various Star Wars games or Disney games or whatever it might be. And some of them might be good, but how many of them are going to be shovelware that are just not going to hit, and then it's going to devalue the IP itself?
It's funny to me that we had EA having that like 20-year contract, or I don't think it was that long, but it's like a decade-long contract with Disney for the Star Wars IP license. And they basically did nothing with it. They kind of ran it into the ground, made some Battlefront games that weren't super well received until Fallen Order came out, right? And then they've kind of revitalized, or Respawn, I think, is playing a really big role in not only the revitalization of like Disney's IPs and gaming, but EA's resurgence into like a relevant, a big, not, I shouldn't say relevant, but like a big player in the single player game space. So when I see a report like this, I'm like, why are EA or why is Disney looking at EA and being like, we're going to ignore all the bad you did because you've done so well in the last like 4 years? And for me, it's basically Star Wars Fallen or Jedi series that's really leading this charge, if anything, because when I'm looking at them, like, what else would make them go to EA over someone like Ubisoft, where they're making a Star Wars game too? Like, if Outlaws comes out and it's a smash hit, are the executives then going to be like, oh, we should get Ubisoft? I just want to know why they're looking at EA. That's my big question. Is it just because they have that established relationship? Like I said, like they're going to make an Iron Man game and a Black Panther game. Is that enough of a confidence, like, oh, we work with them, we should buy them? Because I think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, no, I think that if you have that strong partnership, there's no reason to go all in on buying somebody if the third party partnership's already working. Like, you know that you can put out good games this way, and even if they don't hit, you have less of an investment, and more than likely people aren't going to get laid off. Like, if you have an Avengers situation where you spend money, you build out the game, and then it doesn't hit the way that you think it does, that studio doesn't necessarily suffer as much as it might if it was internal, to where you say, okay, that project didn't pan out, let's cut that entire team. Third party, the deal's kind of done. Like, the money's exchanged hands, it's good to go. Again, that's my novice outsider's perspective of how the situation works. But yeah, I don't think this should happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Disney has a big enough problem on their hands right now trying to figure out what they're doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and
Mhm.
getting that all wrangled on the entertainment side.
Yeah, like we just got reports that Disney was rebooting the new Daredevil project because it's so bad. Their recent TV series haven't been hitting the way that people expected. Like, there have been a few standouts. I hear Ahsoka is pretty good. The Loki show is obviously getting reviewed well, but they've been missing even in the big screen space with some of the new MCU movies. So for me, this looks like a kind of a desperate attempt to be like, how can we get more relevance in the entertainment space, with gaming being one they haven't really tackled yet. But like, let's say they buy EA. Do you see EA having to sell off studios that don't make these types of games, like Criterion that make like racing games, or the sports studios that make like FIFA and Madden? Where would EA keep those under Disney, or would Disney be like, we don't care about those, like they can't make our our Disney properties, they can make our Star Wars, Marvel, and then their kid games I assume they would make some IPs with?
Yeah, I think that it would probably end up being something like what happened with Activision Blizzard and what continues to happen with Activision Blizzard, where like Toys for Bob also supports Call of Duty. Like, yeah, they're making other stuff, but there for a while, I think every studio within Activision Blizzard was working on Call of Duty in some capacity. And so with the Disney acquisition, if it were to happen, you would see a company like EA kind of move all their chips where it's like, yeah, those silos would probably still be in place and they would probably still make the games they're making, but they would also be supporting in some capacity these other Disney IP. Epic Mickey 3, I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Mm.
But like stuff like that could potentially be how they go about it.
I think Disney, you slow your roll, mainly because I don't want you in the gaming space. I really am adverse to anyone that isn't currently in the space coming in. Like, Apple really worries me whenever they decide to finally commit. Google, I think, has a horrible track record. We don't really need them in here. But then you have like companies like Disney where they could just buy themselves a way in with EA, and I think that would be the worst outcome, not only for EA but for Disney, because they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I can't see this. Hopefully this doesn't go through. This is just a rumor at this point, and Bob Iger, I think, might understand we're not really in the position for this right now.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But you want to roll into, I put this third in our notes, but we'll go to it second. Redfall. I got a 60 FPS patch, Sam. So we joked about this literally last
Right?
episode, where I was like, oh, they should drop it October 20th. But in what is hilarious timing, like I said, after last week's show, Arcane has dropped the 60 FPS performance mode patch for Xbox Series X and S. In addition, they've increased enemy density, AI, added stealth takedowns, and a whole list of other features that seemingly have improved the game. Sam, is this enough to get you to jump back into Redfall?
Probably later, not right now. I think that is looking at this situation, I get why they did it now, because there's no other point throughout the year where you're going to be able to market a vampire game that failed better than you can going into Halloween. Like, that is the play, that is what they're doing, and it makes a lot of sense. However, once again, we're listing off games we're playing right now, some more niche than others. But in the next 3 weeks, we've got Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, got a new Call of Duty on the way. You've got updates to games like Battlefield 2042 that are trying to bring people back. Halo 5 or Halo Infinite Season 5 is coming out in a couple of days. Like, when it comes to first person shooters and when it comes to other games that are coming out, it's just stacked. I am not going back to Redfall in the middle of October 2023. Now, December, like late December, maybe a Christmas game. Could be a Gungrave Gore 2023 situation. I don't know. But that might be my move. What about you?
So it was funny because I was talking to some people. I'm like, should we re-download it? Some friends, and I was like, should we re-download it? And I almost did. Before I decided to jump into Forza, I was like, maybe I should give Redfall another shot. And then I went over to our friends over in the Xbox Expansion Pass Discord, and Luke and I believe Logan also have been playing the update. And Luke kind of reassured me that, like, based on what I had said about my issues with the game, that the patch probably isn't enough for even like to get me into it still. Like, I
Mm,
have no doubt that the game has improved. Like 60 FPS and all the patch notes, it sounded like it's a much better game, but it still might not be for me after that. So I'm really hesitant just based on like what I've heard from other people and people that like know my taste in games that like I still it's still probably not for me. But that being said, I'm happy that it got updated finally. I'm happy that people that are jumping in seem to have a much more positive reaction to it and saying like, oh, this really did help the game.
yeah.
And Ghostly March points out in the chat, it didn't help. Its peak is like 50 players on Steam. It's time to move on from this game and forget it. I do think that the day it dropped, it did get a higher player count. I think it was I thought I saw a few hundred playing it. Still nothing crazy, but as he said, if it's already gone back down low, I think the game might have some more fundamental issues they need to work out. Logan, I see you. Let's do a play session. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. You know, I got Sonic next week, Mario. There's no time for Redfall. As Sam was saying, when December, you, me, Sam, Logan, Luke.
I mean, maybe. Looking at I think that the Steam player count isn't necessarily something I would go off of because all-time peak on it, looking at the Steam charts, is 1,560 players, like including day one. So clearly, people number one aren't playing on Steam. It was a new IP. The reviews were horrible. People aren't going to spend $60 on this and buy it on Steam. Now, what are the numbers for the Xbox on PC app? What are the numbers on console? That's all, TBD. I don't know. We can always speculate, but I enjoyed what Redfall had at its core. Like I feel like there was a good game there from a Far Cry perspective of going in, clearing bases, killing enemies, checking objectives off the map, going from point A to point B. That's fun to me. And
Mm,
so, like, after I finish something like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora in December, that's probably going to be that exact same situation. Redfall might be that next game to scratch that itch and I go back to. But again, is it going to be that for a lot of people? Probably not. So we'll see. But I'm glad people are having fun with it. I think that's the most important thing is that every game is going to be somebody's favorite game. And now this update makes Redfall a potential favorite game for somebody. And that's
oh
neat.
yeah, yeah. Who is it? Is it Ellery that really loved this game?
Ellery loved Redfall. Yeah, loves
Yeah, yeah,
Redfall. Yeah.
yeah. And that's made his own character, and really, it goes to show you, and perfect example. I love Battleborn. All right, so
That is a perfect example.
anyone can love any game. It might not just be for me. And you were speaking about Xbox numbers. So this is the PC. I just pulled up the PC app and went to the most popular, like what are the biggest Game Pass titles on PC right now. Redfall is not in the top 20 as far as I can see on PC,
Yeah.
which doesn't say for the console, unless I don't know if they're combined, but console or PC wise, not there. But good luck to Redfall. We'll see what else happens with you. But Sam, I don't know why this next one's news, but let's talk about it. Could ABK Games be hitting Game Pass in 2024 and not sooner, like we all thought? This was in a response to the approaching closure of ABK Microsoft deal, as we discussed earlier, that might close tomorrow as time of this recording. Activision Blizzard has reiterated when we might start to see games hit Game Pass. On their official Twitter account, they stated, quote, "It's awesome to see anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. As we continue to work towards regulatory approval of the Microsoft deal, we've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world, and we anticipate that we would begin adding games in Game Pass sometime in the course of next year." Sam, does that mean no Activision games in Game Pass until 2024?
No, of course not. I think that they're clarifying I mean, they mentioned 2 games specifically, Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4. I think the real question is what games come to Game Pass and when? I mean, that's the question everybody's asking in general, just at a basic level. But I could easily see the older Call of Duty games coming into Game Pass within a week of the deal closing. And we talked about it a couple of months ago, but they've been fixing the servers for the older Call of Duty games, getting them back up and running on the Xbox 360. Those games coming into Game Pass would be a big benefit. But I think this statement is showing that Activision's thinking about the impact that a Game Pass drop could have on this year's Call of Duty. And how many players out there that want to play these old Modern Warfare 2 maps, which is literally the foundation of the marketing for the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer? If Modern Warfare 2 literally lands on Game Pass within a month of Modern Warfare 3 coming out, I mean, for the people that are trying to save a buck, just go play Modern Warfare 2, scratch that itch for 5
Mhm.
hours and call it a day. So I think they're trying to get ahead of that and say, hey, we're not adding any games right now. Will they still come? Potentially, but I think it's safe to say clearly Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4 are not going to be on the service until maybe like the 1 year of Diablo 4. I could see it hitting Game Pass might be good.
Mhm.
And then Modern Warfare 3, I could imagine like maybe a May or June drop going into the summer. I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, this reiteration was strange to me because I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer made it clear that like it isn't just flipping a switch. We talked about that a few weeks ago in his big, I think it was his IG. He was like, once the deal closes, it's not just bam, everything's in Game Pass now. Like we have to work in the back end. There's licensing issues. We have to get those games slowly into Game Pass, and that will apply to things like Diablo 4, Modern Warfare 3, obviously, where the marketing rights are with PlayStation. Like I've seen play the beta first on PS5 so many times now, and I'm like, this is weird if you're in the know about what's gonna happen. But yes, those next year for sure. I do think that some games will be added more recently this year, but I don't think it's going to be that giant 20-30 game drop that everyone seems to be expecting. And a lot of it is because of what you said, where you're going to want to not, excuse my innuendo here, blow your load all at once. All right. They're going to want to stretch this out. Okay. So they're going to look at like, what releases do we have coming up? Like, Crash Team Rumble would be perfect to throw
I
into
was
Game
thinking the
Pass.
exact same thing.
That
Yeah.
would be the game isn't really having the success that I think Toy Store Bob wanted. I haven't played in quite some time. I got my 1000% dipped out of there. But those style games where it's not going to impact the player base of a new release, or games that I think will like build upon, say like 2024, maybe they're going to release, I don't know, say, we're going to put Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 out in 2024, which probably isn't going to happen. But they throw Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake
Yeah.
into there like a month or two beforehand, get people hyped up and be like, this is the level of excitement. Like start to build that back catalog of those games to build up and hype up new releases. I think that's a good marketing strategy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that it'll be interesting to see what they do with Call of Duty. That's been the thread throughout the entire conversation around them buying Activision Blizzard. But I think you're right with Crash Team Rumble. I think even like if I remember, there's Spyro as well, right? They did the
Mm-hmm.
Spyro
They
Reignited
got Spyro.
trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm
like
waiting for that to come to Game Pass.
yeah, so like throw the Spyro Reignited trilogy in there, the Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, throw the Crash trilogy in there. Like those are the games that I think could be thrown in without having to think about the impact that it'll have on this season's releases.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing they want to do is stunt a Modern Warfare 3. But also, how many people that are going to buy Modern Warfare 3 are reading the Twitter account? You know, like I was in GameStop on Monday. 3 people came in within the course of an hour. I was there for a while to
Just hanging
pre-order.
out.
I was just hanging out to pre-order Modern Warfare 3, and I was like, people still do this. Somebody came in asking about a midnight release. I'm not even kidding. Like these people are dialed in, ready for this new game, and so I don't even know if it matters that they put out this statement. I think it's going to sell wild numbers either way, even if people thought that it was coming to Game Pass.
I pre-order Switch games at GameStop. That's the only time I go to GameStop. I feel like the last midnight release I did was like Smash Ultimate, maybe. So it's been a while. I every time I go in there though, people do buy Battlefield, Call of Duty. Like
Yeah.
when people always make the joke like, oh, those casual gamers, and I was like, those are the games that sell. Like that's the majority of what I see people buy when I'm in a GameStop, when I'm in a Walmart, a Target. Like people go in for those big AAA games that like release every year. They know what they're getting. I don't ever see people go in and be like, you guys got Star Ocean, the Divine Force over.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not really happening. So I get your point. Like it's good for them to reiterate this, that like, hey, buy the game, it's not coming to Game Pass, like we want to
Right.
make our money back. But how many Call of Duty players are actually sitting there reading that and being like, oh shucks, you
Yeah.
know?
No, they're not. Yeah, but maybe someday we'll see. I mean, we will see them land in Game Pass on day one in the years ahead.
Oh yeah.
TBD on if that starts next year. But yeah, if you were holding out hope, it looks like it's not going to be this year.
No. Well, that's all the news we have for this week, but let's wrap it up with some listener questions. We got a few. Terabo actually wrote in quite a few from last week, and it was after the show, but I told him I would answer this week. So his first question: if Xbox decided to launch all first-party games in the same way as Starfield, pay extra to get 5-day early access, would that rub you the wrong way? Is his first question.
Are
And I
they
feel
not
like
doing that right now?
I was like, I feel like we've kind of talked about this, and they are doing that, and they're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to describe it is when Forza Motorsport was getting ready to launch last week, I didn't even know there was a 5-day early access thing until I went to go preload the game, and I was like, oh, I could play it now. There was like a little card on the Xbox home screen. Doesn't bother me that it's there. I don't really care. I think giving players more options is fine. Now, if like I don't know. I don't know how they could make that a negative. I was going to say, like, if they forced you to buy it 5 days early to play it with Game Pass, that would be bad, but they would never do that. So, yeah,
Defeats the purpose of Game Pass.
I think it would be worse if they didn't include DLC with the
Yes,
like if they took out the expansions that might be coming with that bonus. Like I think Starfield was how much was it for the early access? 35?
30 or 35. It's never. It's around there
Yeah, I think
usually.
it was like the Game Pass was like 35 and you get the first expansion. If they just said $35 to play 5 days early, no, that's gross.
Agreed.
But if you give me a $25 expansion or a $20 expansion and you happen to have this benefit of early access, okay, I'm in, sure.
Yes, I fully agree. And this isn't going away because, as we've talked about, this is how they subsidize putting those first party releases on Game Pass, where they're like, yo, Starfield costs 200 million to make. That's like our monthly Game Pass numbers or whatever. Let's charge them a little more and get that out of there. Just saying, is this going to be a hit for every game? No. Like I didn't see as many people jump into Forza Motorsport as they did Starfield for this. I feel like Forza Horizon 5 was really big with this as well, but I know they had like 3 million jumping in early.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a game by game basis, and that's great because it gives you more choice. If Hellblade 2 has this, you better believe I will ship out $30 to play Hellblade 2. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, because is Hellblade just going to be a one and done experience? Are they do they plan DLC for that? Like they would need to have something beneficial, like you were saying, to throw on out there. And if that doesn't fit the game's model, then I don't think they're going to do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, we'll see how far they go. And if they figure out a way to massage this kind of thing into an annual Call of Duty release, it is going to
Oh,
absolutely
100% gonna
print
happen.
money. Did you see that fine from the FTC or whatever, or the FCC earlier this week that they had to
Mm-hmm.
pay? It was like $58.6 billion or something. They'll pay with that with the Call of Duty early access money. Like it's just gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah, the figure's been, I saw 30, I think, earlier billion or whatever, but I've seen some mixed reporting on the actual number, and I was like, oh, just go get the couch cushion money out of Asadia's office,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do they care? That's really nothing to them. But as you were saying, if they do that with something like Diablo, I did it for Diablo. I paid $100 for Diablo, and I haven't touched that game in months now, but the time I did, well spent. That early access and DLC can be a powerful thing. So
Yeah.
definitely not going away. But his next question, would you be happy if Nintendo and Xbox started collabing more, aka Halo 1, 2, 3 showing up on the Switch along with games like Grounded, and maybe in return Xbox gets Pikmin, F-Zero, and Metroid, as they don't sell very well?
I think that this will never happen. I do not think you're ever going to see a Pikmin game on Xbox, not because Xbox wouldn't want it, but that Nintendo will never degrade in their eyes the value that their hardware puts out. But what I would like to see is the general collabs more, like whenever Halo came to Brawlhalla, like whenever the Master Chief and Arbiter characters came to Brawlhalla, that was really cool. And I like those kind of collabs. So, like you mentioned, Grounded. I'm just throwing it out there. Pikmin and Grounded seems like a really good combo to throw into a game, and I would really like to see that. But yeah, I don't think they would ever put games on each other's systems beyond streaming. So like if there was the Xbox Game Pass app, you could play Halo on Switch, and I would like to see that. But I would love to see the general like in-game collabs more for sure.
Yeah. You know what I would love? You said it. I'm just picturing Grounded, and then you fighting the Pikmin, like like they're giant because you're tiny, so you're like hacking them down like the spiders.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that would be awesome.
yeah, like a giant Dark Souls boss or
Hmm.
Bloodborne boss where you're just taking out this giant Pikmin. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that's what. No, this would I like this more? This doesn't really matter to me because I own all the consoles. I'm sure that it would be cool to see more collab, like we were saying with the Grounded Pikmin thing. I don't think Nintendo ever is like, here, have some of our IP for your system. That is not how Nintendo operates. That's not how Nintendo has ever operated. I think Xbox would be more open to being like, we'll give you a Game Pass app, cloud, whatever, maybe some native games. There was that, I've heard this rumor for years now that Halo, like at one point, was going to be on PlayStation when Xbox One was like failing. And that never happened. So, like, I think Xbox is way more open than the other two to having their games as long as it makes financial sense and like there's some benefit. Like, yeah, you need to sign up for Xbox Live or Game Pass to play it on the platform.
Yeah. Do you remember seeing the video of Gears of War running on a PS3?
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, so there's a video out there of Gears of War running natively on a PS3 because the game had been built on PlayStation 3 and then Microsoft decided to make it an Xbox 360 exclusive. So they were back in the day open to it, and I doubt they would not be closed-minded still today.
Well, I'm gonna look that up after this episode.
Yeah,
But
man, it blew my mind seeing somebody play Gears of War with a DualShock 3.
oh,
It was
oh
crazy.
god, and the PS3 is like the boomerang. Oh my
Yep.
god, that disgusting, horrible controller.
Oh,
Ooh,
the early one.
the
Yeah.
early one where literally a boomerang could throw it and come back to you. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God, the days.
Uh,
Those were the days.
it's Kyle writes in two questions as well. Says, with the success of Assassin's Creed Mirage, should other developers also look into bringing back stealth-focused franchises?
I think that the only stealth franchise I'd like to see come back is Siphon Filter and or would also like a little bit of Splinter Cell, as we know that's coming back as well.
Mhm.
But I think that the developers, if they're making stealth games like they did back in the day, they've just got to make sure they do it justice. Like Mirage does a really good job of modernizing Assassin's Creed gameplay from back in the day without making it feel old, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. And so as long as others can do the same, like I think that a Metal Gear did it really well with like Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain keeps that stealth, but it makes it feel really good in a modern day. So that kind of stuff I'm totally down for. Yeah.
Captain Logan in the chat says stealth in games is weird, and that right there is, I think, the overwhelming consensus among a lot of gamers is that they don't like stealth. Because what other reason would you see for the decline? I've thought about this a lot. Like the decline of stealth games from when I was a child to now is absurd. Like there
Yeah.
must have been some feedback from players, like the game must have not sold well or that they didn't like the style of stealth, because they're few and far between these days. Splinter Cell is one of my favorite gaming franchises. I love Splinter Cell. I love stealth games like Splinter Cell, Like Origami is like one of the
Oh, yeah.
only modern ones that I can remember playing where I'm like, this captures what I love about stealth games, especially if they're co-op. There's nothing better than synchronizing like stealth takedowns, sneaking around together with your friends. That is what I love. But I don't think the majority of gamers feel that way. I think they think it's cumbersome, it's too slow, where we have this ADD style gaming where you need to get right into it, have some fast paced, like that's why things have turned from turn-based to action, right? Because people like to be more engaged. They don't like taking it slow and thinking things out. They just want to get to the gameplay. So I think there's a subsection of gamers that definitely want stealth games, but I don't think it's a massive portion, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they've got people out there that are seeing the social conversation. They're seeing what people are asking for. And I think one thing also that I've seen from the Assassin's Creed community, reading about how the reaction to Mirage has been, it's that people have been asking for the franchise to get back to its roots for a really long time. And there are some times where the community doesn't really know what it actually wants. Like the nostalgia glasses can be strong. And I think a lot of people that are playing Mirage right now might be thinking, oh, well, this is way slower than the combat in Valhalla or the combat in Origins, and it's not quite as engaging. Feels kind of weird. Well, that's because it's old, like it's the old
Hmm.
gameplay.
Hmm.
So I think there are a whole lot of elements there, but I totally agree. There has been a strong decline in stealth games, and so I think they'll still be around, but how long TBD, and how many TBD.
Yeah. Goes to March. Sounds like a skill issue, like how people complain puzzles or games are too hard, and now games basically handhold you while you play, or just tell you the answer. Horizon, for example, I've complained about that on the show as well, where I think JRPGs used to have puzzles, and now it's just empty hallways. And PlayStation, your games need to shut up for 5 seconds. I God of War Ragnarok, I can't even have time to think about the puzzle before like maybe we should freeze the water. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for telling me. I could have figured that out if you gave me 30 seconds to actually look at it, but that's a complaint for another day. Last question. When do you think we see the Xbox Series Slims / redesigns?
Based on the
Obviously,
timeline, 2024.
based on the leaks, next holiday, when I assume this question was prompted by the PlayStation 5 Slim that was
Yes.
just revealed. Which, what do you think about those, Tim?
I mean, keep in mind, we're on an Xbox podcast, so might be biased.
I got a PS5 right behind this TV over
You
here.
do it. See, I don't own a PS5, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to buy one of the Slims either. It's just, I get what they're doing, and it makes it better for Sony because they're streamlining the production process, and they don't have to make two models. They just make one and put a different part on one box. But for the consumers, like now it's harder to get a digital edition because it's more expensive. The kickstand thing is weird. It's cool that
Mhm.
it's smaller, but it's still big as hell. Like I don't see a lot of benefits from it beyond on Sony's side. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's still bigger than the series, like taller than the Series X,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think I tweeted they somehow made it uglier, which I maintain. That weird racing stripe, and the especially with the disc drive now, super ugly. Um, I do think the detachable disc drive is the future, though. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if Xbox's redesign for their digital console also sells you a disc drive. I would not be surprised about that at all. I think next gen PlayStation 6 and whatever Xbox calls their next console, I think one SKU digital only, and if you want it, you're gonna have to buy a detachable disc. Like I can fully see that now that like Sony's put this out there. I can see that becoming the future that we're gonna live in.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this is setting a huge precedent. I totally agree.
yeah. But kickstand thing, vertical stand for $30. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, PlayStation?
Yeah, so the stand being $30 to stand up vertically is ridiculous whenever the console itself is currently being marketed with a vertical stand. Like your debut video had it standing up vertically, so that takes an additional $30. But beyond that, the fact that the covers that everybody's been buying for the past 2 years don't work on the new model. You
Oh, I didn't even
literally
think about that.
Yeah, because it's got the 4 panels instead of the 2,
Yeah.
so they don't snap on the same way they used to. So they're going to have to put out an entirely new line of covers for this new model of the PlayStation 5. It just if you already had a PS5 and it breaks, then you don't have that chance to put the covers back on. You got to buy the stand. It's just nickel and diming all over the place. And it's just, where's my PlayStation where you can turn the logo on the front of the PS2? That's what I'm looking for. Those were my people.
I wonder, Xbox will have that problem too with their wraps if the new cylinder digital series, because the wrap won't work on that, I don't think. Like maybe it will. Maybe I don't know how it looked like a square wrap. I don't know how firm it is. Like what could it?
Oh, I'm sure it's it looks very firm. Yeah, I don't think it'll work on the wraps. But also to be fair, they aren't marketing those wraps. That might have been like a one and done. Like they have not talked about that at all. Because I mean, it was probably like hey, throw that Starfield one out there and see what they think. And then if they sold 3 of them, they're like, cut that production. We're done.
I don't even think those shipped yet. I think those come in October.
Do they come in October? Maybe it is October 15th.
I thought, because I remember them coming out after Starfield, is already out.
Yeah, let's see. 6 to 7 day delivery, $44.99 comes. Oh wow, November 10th is the Arctic camo.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then Starfield is October 18th, so they are not out yet. So I guess we'll see how popular they are. But I can imagine. I mean, I would love to see more of them, but are they going to be popular? Do you think these things are going to sell? Not to go on a tangent, but
the Arctic one, the camo ones, they shouldn't. If anyone has any taste, do not buy I saw a camo car the other day on the road.
Oh,
and I was offended. My eyes were offended, but also my soul. As you went out and specifically customized your car to have a stupid camo.
Yeah,
design on
you live up north. I live down south, and here in North Carolina, we call that a Tuesday. That's just normal.
That's not normal. I don't see it. It was like a sports car too. It was I was like, I can't even. Trying to blend into the trees.
I will say a sports car is kind of weird unless it's like a skin in Warzone for your car getting around the map. I don't understand. I get it for a giant dually pickup truck, but for a regular car, it feels weird.
Yeah, super weird. But do I think they're going to sell well? Probably not, unfortunately. And that's a shame because I really want a Hellblade one or a Fable. I just want to see them, and if they're awesome, I'll think about it. But if Starfield doesn't sell well, I don't think they're gonna be let's keep going with the wraps.
I feel like it's a weird set to start off with because camo is for a specific audience. Then you've got Starfield that's literally just for the Starfield players pretty much. And then if there was a Lunar Shift one to go with my controller or a Diablo red one that goes blends from black to red, might consider picking one up. But the 3 they started off with, I have no interest in.
No, it was they should have just put out Starfield and with the launch. It should have arrived on launch day.
It should have been and it might have been intentionally that was their intention and then it fell behind, but it would have been great to have the headset, the controller, the wrap. I haven't seen anybody talking about that controller since it launched beyond 3 people, and I'm glad I held out because I did not need another controller. So I held out for a little while, but so we'll see how they do.
We'll see how they do. That's all we have for this week's show. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Sam, another week down, but where can people find your awesome content? I was watching your shorts earlier this week, man.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do it.
Got a lot of them coming out, one a day. Did not do one today because I wanted to wait on the Lords of the Fallen reviews to drop, so that's coming up shortly.
Oh yeah. You were thinking about picking that up. Are you still? Where were you falling?
Yeah, I'm on. Where am I falling? I'm on hold with it right now because it said a general 7 out of 10. I saw a 2 out of 5. I'm just not. I'm not diving in on day one with that kind of thing, unfortunately. But looking forward to making more shorts on topics like that. You can find me at youtube.com/JamPackSam, Threads JamPackSam, Instagram JamPackSam. Anywhere you get content, you can find me over there making stuff as JamPackSam.
Awesome. Everyone go check out Sam if you for some reason have not, but you can find me over on X at the Muffin Mon. It's 17I07. I messed that up completely.
Close enough.
So 1 instead of an I-O instead of an A. Wow. 154 episodes of doing it right, and then I messed it up. That is impressive. Follow us at Save Game Media over on X. Let me know how embarrassing it is that I messed up my own tag. But until next week, we'll see you.